Our story begins with a man severely injured, fighting for his life. He desired strength regardless of who the enemy was. Now, the martial artist who represented supreme strength stood before him. His name is Gu Zhang. The boy mentions that he had been the strongest at the demonic academy for years and overcame difficulties, one after another, just to be the strongest. He's sorry that, after all of this, he's going to die this way, and if only circumstances were better, he might have had a different fate. He thinks he's hallucinating as a system window appears with options to resume or load a save point or restart. As he loses consciousness, he contemplates this delusion as he closes his eyes. A bolt of light appears, ending with a great glow, stating that he chose to restart at the moment he had a private encounter with the Lord of the Supreme Court. He had no idea where he was, floating in an empty place. Our protagonist's name is Seol-Hu, and he mentions that learning demonic arts were known to shorten the user's lifespan. Despite joining the demonic academy, he never learned the demonic art for years. All he did was search parties and reconnaissance missions. And then he died. As he closes his eyes, he stated that his life was a load of bullshit. But wait, what happened? The young man woke up in a bed, wondering if it wasn't the place where he used to train. He doesn't know if this was a dream, and he remembers that the Mantis, Lord of the Supreme Court, was the reason he died that day. This man had said that our protagonist was just going to scout the area, and then the vice principal would do the job. Returning to reality, two men appear, and the bald one, who is called Chick-san, gives Froda a punch in the stomach. This man says his hand slipped, making fun of the situation. The other man, looking at him with disdain, is Juk Myung, the captain of the Black Moon Squad. Seol-Y, despite feeling much pain from the punch, is very shocked by this situation because he feels like this had happened to him before. If he's correct, he knows what the bald man is going to say next, and he is right. The captain then says that the Lord of the Supreme Court needs his presence and says he is very lucky. Chick-san is in a lower rank than our protagonist, but he did that because Juk Myung was protecting him. Our protagonist sees life points above their heads. Everything is happening exactly as he remembers. Whether it was a premonition, a dream, he doesn't know, but it was all real. Then he remembers the system said that he was going back to the past. Finally, he meets the Mantis, and it's exactly as he remembers. The current leader of the Court of the Holy Deity is also present. There is a place known as the Red Demon Chamber. It was the first core branch of the Demon Academy, and within it, there are 5 courts. All the leaders of these courts possess incredible martial arts abilities, but the Lord of the Supreme Court the only one who knows the demonic flame, a demonic art capable of melting even the bones of enemies with a single attack. Because of the Mantis' terrible personality, he is used to killing anyone he wants and also those he simply dislikes. Even though our protagonist doesn't trust him, he doesn't have a choice but to obey. The conversation goes back and forth with his superiors, and the leader of the Court of the Holy Deity questions his loyalty, because he doesn't seem to like to bow his head to them. After this, Seol asks for forgiveness, going down on his knees. The Mantis tells him not to shout and asks if he doesn't know how to behave in front of the leader of the Court of the Holy Deity. The Mantis makes him an offer to become the clerk of the Cheon-Il Affix, since he showed a great interest in the demonic arts. Our protagonist thinks the Lord of Supreme Court is baiting him. However, every good thing has its bad side, and in return, he would have to be part of a mission that would be great for his skills. He remembers everything that happened on this mission and wants to avoid it. With a troubling look in his thoughts, he says he won't die again. When his turn to speak comes, a screen appears with options of what could happen depending on his attitude, and a countdown from 10 to 0 begins. He must choose one of the options. With this, his wish to receive another order is granted, and returning to the real world, he says that out loud, surprising his superior. The powerful old man stands up angrily as he hasn't given an order yet, and Seol feels some sort of pressure described as a feeling of being bitten like prey. The mantis screams this girl to stop, and if he took another second to say it, the young man would have lost his head. This woman is a vassal who protects the Lord of the Supreme Court, and her name is Hyuk Bai. The powerful old man decides to give him a chance to say what he wants, but whether he lives or dies will be his decision. The young man kneels down again and says that he heard rumors about the League of Manhwa, that they are grouping at the border of Hanam, and that if they could inform when the current professor's expedition will be, he will join it promptly. The suspicious bald man asks how the squad leader could know about these rumors. The mantis says he was going to give him an order anyway. And this place he mentioned, the vice director will go there personally for a reconnaissance mission. But before that, someone has to go there to stop and research the terrain so they can find out what kind of person is there and report the best strategic positions to the captain of the squad of flying assassins. With this, the young man says he will honor his orders, and his superior dismisses him. Again, he sees life points, but now it was in the woman. After this, at a river and looking at the water, he says it's unbelievable, not knowing what is happening to him. The young man thinks about fleeing to Jongwon, but that wouldn't be easy because he learned demonic martial arts, and this exhausting energy, the Murim soldiers would be able to feel and pursue him until they end his life. In the end, there are no options where he comes out victorious. Continuing on his way, he finds Chick and remembers the day of his death. He decides between following the order and dying, or doing something else to escape this situation. He then wants to confirm something with Chick, and suddenly attacks him. The fight seems balanced, but he uses an advantage by cutting Chick's leg, and finally he ends the life of the bald man. After this betrayal, there is no turning back. To cover up his crime, he throws the man's body into the river. The boy comments that as soon as Chick died, the words in his head disappeared, but nothing changed in him, and with this, he looked at his reflection in the river, totally changing the scene. Rocks and a waterway are shown, along with a boat and other men. He remembers what the mantis said, and despite what he did earlier, he ended up in this same situation. Despite this, if he had stayed, he would have destroyed it. They finally arrive on firm land, and stepping on the grass, he remembers that as soon as he killed the bald man, a screen appeared saying 2 chances. The captain of the flying assassin squad appears, her name is Chol Soo-jin. She tells Seol that there are groups from the League on Mount Hua in this area, so they need to be careful. Their objective is to determine where the enemies are and how many there are, and after this information, return to this location. He and 3 comrades will carry out this mission. While they're running, Seol tells them to go right, and they're confused because they were supposed to go left. He's doing this because in the past, these enemies knew where they were going. The boy wonders if that second chance message means this, or if this is his last and second chance. The young man raises his hand to stop, and they spot a house. He says he will take a look, and if they see or come across anything, they should join him. After that, in the house, the group meets up as it was empty. He is very thoughtful about what to do, as returning to the academy after killing Chick is asking to be killed. A member of his squad comments that they can return soon, so they will observe the terrain and return. The protagonist can't answer the member. All he can do is look at the words in front of him. Time stops, and some options are shown. The first is that the enemy is weak and they will fight, the second is that they will talk and resolve everything, and the third is that they cannot win and they will run away. The boy can't hear or see this enemy and wonders if he is really there. Time is running out, and the second option is chosen. At this, the captain tells the enemy to come out, he knows where he is. The group takes position, and it seems he was mistaken because nobody appeared. But then someone says he is the capable fellow and appears in the middle of the group. The worst seems to have happened, the ultimate martial artist, who represents strength, is in this place. He is also the ultimate swordsman, the one who carries the plum blossom sword. He's the elder of Manhwa sect, Guzhong Myung. The boy doesn't understand how this happened. He planned everything, and yet they ran into this monster. Zhang says they were the ones who entered his patrol area, and he can't delay it anymore. So these damned ones from the Demon Academy will die by his hands. Even though the boy thinks the outcome will always be the same, he still has hope and doesn't want to die, and they end up running for withdrawal. It happens that they are slow and much inferior, which ends up having them all easily knocked down. The boy says he knew they were coming, otherwise, it wouldn't make sense. Zhang then grabs his head and asks how he found out. He replies that he only had a common sense to deduce things, for if nobody knew the day and time they would arrive, they wouldn't be able to hunt them unless they knew things. Being in this situation, Zhang told the rest. He said that one side benefits from becoming more efficient, while the other side manages to get rid of some idiots in its path, being a good deal for both sides. Zhang is curious about the demonic cultivator protesting against his superiors, and the boy wonders what this is. Seol cries at all this, while Zhang is thanking him because he can now improve his skills. Zhang lifts his sword and delivers the final blow. The boy then asks for another chance, since he had 2 chances, and he reappears in the same empty place. He says he can't go back from the beginning because he can't guarantee that this situation won't happen again if he goes back. So he goes for the option of loading a saved point, but to his misfortune, there is no point saved. The only options are to restart and resume. It's impossible to continue if the opponent's martial arts level was higher than his, or when it's impossible to continue the scenario through conversion. It will be impossible to continue. So guys, without choice, he ends up restarting everything again. We have come to yet another end. That's it for this video. Thank you for watching.